I will call the school committee meeting to order for our June 5th meeting. Dr. Knight, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we just completed our executive session, and I would like to bring you up to date as to the reason we had the executive session tonight. And it's really not an easy one for me. I've known Mr. Jokela for quite some time. I had him as a student at Fitchburg High School when he graduated from Fitchburg High School, class of '84, and he's been a big part of our alumni association with his help as superintendent. And so tonight, I bring the news that Mr. Jokela has accepted another job, and he will be leaving us on July 7th. And we've had quite a few talks, and he knows how I feel about that. So I just wish Mr. Jokela well. Thank you, Pete. At this time, school committee members and student reports, school committee chair report. The mayor, again, is not able to be here. He should be back for our next meeting, hopefully. Resource Committee, we met last week, and all we did, we went over the budget, which is going to be presented tonight. School building needs. We had a wonderful presentation at Longeau Middle School by the 8th graders for this Civic Day project, and they just did an outstanding job in presenting on trying to get added space outside. And I instructed Mr. Richardson, our building maintenance director, to help them out and to look for that space. And I think we will find some extra space so they'll have some recess space or space to go outside and enjoy a little fresh air once in a while. Policy Subcommittee?
Nothing to report.
Student support?
Nothing to report, sir.
School personnel? Nothing at this time. Executive Committee? Nothing. Student reps are what we enjoy the most.
Good evening, fellow school committee members.
So many great things have happened the past couple of weeks, and we can't wait to share it with you all today.
Firstly, we want to give both Fitchburg High and Goodrich seniors a huge congratulations on graduating this past Thursday and Friday. Upon graduation, seniors were also able to stroll through their old schools within the district and reconnect with their old teachers and staff. Although you will be missed, we are so proud of you all and can't wait to see where this new journey takes you.
Next, the relays were held on Thursday, May 18th, in which the sophomores and seniors took it home for their class and won the race, along with Longeau and Rheingold winning their race for their schools.
May was Pacific Islander and Asian American Month as well. In celebration, the Asian American Club at Fitchburg High strolled through the halls with their cultural clothing and gear to show off their beautiful culture. It was amazing to see.
Shout out to the freshmen taking MCAS this Tuesday and Wednesday. We hope you do great. And for the juniors and sophomores, there will be a late start and school will be starting at 10:30 a.m. On Friday, May 26th, Longeau 6th grade students attended a trip to the Flume Gorge in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. This field trip was beautiful and a great experience for the kids. They got to enjoy a 2-mile hike that led them with waterfalls through the gorge, across covered bridges, and through caves.
28th grade students from Longeau Memorial attended Civics Day on June 2nd at Clark University in Worcester. They presented action civics projects that incorporated the students' want in improving school safety, mental health, and more. They were able to put these projects together by doing interviews, surveys, focus groups, and data collection.
Following this, Fitchburg Public Schools held a new teacher mentor induction ceremony at the Fitchburg Art Museum on 24th of May. 48 new teachers from all schools around the district were in attendance and had a great time taking a moment to celebrate educators.
Before ending off our speech, we'd like to speak on an issue that was brought up at one of the past meetings, the ROTC program. At one of the last meetings, a lady came to the stand and spoke about how the ROTC should not be a program provided at the school for students, and we felt it was an important subject to bring up and speak on today to explain why we disagree with this statement. For some who may not know, the ROTC is a group at Fitchburg High School that opens up opportunities for students of all ages to understand what the Army is, the activities you would have to partake in, and the benefits of the Army as a whole. We felt it was important to speak on this today because as people who have witnessed the program, we feel it is super crucial to have within schools. For students who are low income, don't want to pursue education, or genuinely have no idea what they want to do with their lives, the Army is such a great route for them, and they deserve the opportunities to broaden their idea of what it is and its importance. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have an approval of the minutes of the previous school committee meeting of May 5th, 2023.
So approved, but I think that I just questioned one date, I think you meant 24 instead of 23, May, something.
May 15th, 2023.
Yeah.
That would be.
So moved to accept.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications? Seeing none, public comments? Seeing none, public comments? Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevens. First off, tonight we have Sally Cragen here to talk about the students from Longsjo and Memorial Middle School who recently received the Janet Cragen Awards at the Fishbowl Cultural Center. So, Sally, come on up.
I'd like to introduce Jesse Olson, who is the director of the Fitchburg Cultural Alliance, and that is the building right outside the window on the corner. So, Jesse.
Hello. Thank you for having us here today. We're here to present the winners of the Janet Cragen Youth Awards, and this was something the Fitchburg Cultural Alliance created several years ago to honor our founding member, Janet Cragen, who was an educator but also an advocate for the arts, especially with the youth. And each year, we reach out to the middle schools to celebrate students who have had achievement in visual arts, dance, theater, music, and a combination thereof. And we gathered a week and a half ago at Main Street Studios across the street, where we honored and presented all of these students with certificates and had a nice little ice cream party and had a little display of their artwork as well. And we had a few performers, and we have 6 of our honorees here tonight. All right, so we're gonna.
Yeah, I think we're going to say the names. Mr. Stevens, you have the certificates. So when we call your name, students, you can go up to Mr. Stevens, who's a very friendly person, and he has your certificate. And before you do that, if you would like to say a few words at the microphone, that would be absolutely fine. And if you don't want to say a few words, that is absolutely fine as well. Okay, so it's up to you. And I just, as Janet Cragen's daughter, I am so grateful that I get to see my mother's legacy continue with this new generation of middle schoolers. As we said at our gathering, the arts, we talk a lot about the creative economy, and we do celebrate the arts, and Fitchburg Public Schools has a real dedication to the arts. And I see our student representatives nodding, and yeah, we do. But you know what? The world doesn't see it that way. The world does not give trophies to artists until you get to a very high level of accomplishment, but we do. We see how good these students are. We know from their teachers that you guys have been chosen from hundreds of students, and those students are really talented as well, but there was something extraordinary. So we really hope you hold the medal you received a couple of weeks ago to your heart. And understand that your message, what you have to say to the world, is critically important. Do not let anything get in the way of you sharing that message, of you sharing your art, your dance, your song, your drawings, your paintings, your sculpture, your cooking, whatever art form is yours, and I'm speaking to the grown-ups too. My mother always said, children are born singing. They are born artists. They are born making art. So it is our pleasure to be able to welcome our students. Before we say the names, I would like to acknowledge our teachers. Longjo Middle School, thank you, Sandra Robillard and Nat Blankenship. At Memorial Middle School, thank you, Emily Barrett, Nicole Karen, Jen Cannell, and Phelan Fournier. And at Sizer School, thank you, Jessica De Silva and Julie Tuttle. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jesse and read our first name.
From 6th grade, we have William Barnor.
I would like to, would be my honor to read the citation from the mayor.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you.
It is with my honor to be able to read the citation from His Honor the Mayor of Fitchburg. The City of Fitchburg, Massachusetts official citation. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Fitchburg, Massachusetts hereby offers sincere congratulations to, and we will read those, in recognition of being honored with the Janet Cragen Youth Art Award for Excellence in Band. The entire citizenry extends its very best wishes to the memorial occasion and expresses the hope for continued good fortune. Given this 5th day of June 2023 by Stephen DiNatale, Mayor Fitchburg.
All right, so first up from Longjo is William Barnor.
I just wanted to acknowledge and thank a lot of people who brought me here, like my family and the educators and the school system, such as my band teachers who have made all this possible and got me into this, and who are also helping other kids, because I really think it's a great program, and just the entire way that this city cares about arts is shown so deeply, and I think it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
What a speech.
I want to shake his hand.
It's so good.
So, and at the end, if we can have all of our students come to the center and we'll do a photograph with our superintendent and with Mr. Stevens, I think that would be great for all of our families. Well done, William.
Well done.
Also from Longjo, we have Guillermo Escobar Pudua. Did you want to speak? No?
Or would you like to show your art? All right. Can you show some of your art, please?
Well, do you want to?
Oh, here. Go ahead.
Hold it up. Nice.
It looks nice and colorful.
Here, follow me.
Love it. Yeah. Sally's got it.
Turn it this way. Keep walking, but you can turn it, then keep walking.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait, don't go so fast. Nice.
It's too good.
Beautiful. Guillermo?
Well done.
Am I doing it?
Oh, I can do the next one. All right. I'd like to ask Atara Bunwe to come to the center podium, please.
Congratulations.
Oh, hold on. Good job, Atara.
You go ahead.
From 8th grade at Longjo, Barbara Gonzalez Lopez. As well. Do you want to?
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's beautiful, Barbara.
Unbelievable.
Nice. All right.
Wow. Amazing.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
From Memorial, 6th grade, Adriana Benson.
Usually I don't do anything this exciting, and I never have, but here I am. I want to thank all of my teachers and my family for this, honestly. I used to go to a very good school with a very good principal, and I loved it. Now I'm going to a different school, and I hope to pursue my arts within that school.
Nice.
Nice job.
All right, and before we do our final winner, I would also like to acknowledge other students who were awarded the Janet Cragen Youth Arts Award from Longsjo, Dax Richard and Lila Perez, and then also from Memorial, Yiriani Polanco Aguilera, who I don't believe is here, Cassie LeBlanc, Nuria Afero, and then from Sizer School, Jamira Beltran, Gavin Gercio, Trent Rozelle, Ariel Alden, Pierce Chaos Burgess, Nalise Tehera Cruz, and we will be getting their certificates to those students at their school. Also, Liliana Peterson from Memorial Middle School. So not everyone could come, but we are very glad that they are honored in this way. And now we'd like to invite Kyrie McManus. Would you come and please say a few words if you'd like?
Congratulations.
Just one note, all the students who received a certificate and award, they were asked to say why art matters to them. And we had a collection of excellent quotes. And what I think is really valuable is that, especially after a very difficult year, I noticed there was a pattern of a lot of these students sharing how art has helped them with their mental health, but also connect them to family and connect them to expressing themselves in a way they felt a little powerless, and this empowered them. So I'm very grateful to Fitchburg Public Schools for giving our young people this outlet and this creative form of expression, but also because we are building toward a creative economy, you're creating the audience and the workers that are going to be the future of Fitchburg. So thank you.
Alrighty, I'm going to ask our young winners to come forward again so we can get a group photograph. And this is important because we'll all put it on our social media, even though you guys are doing social media that's far in advance of ours. So we'll ask Mr. Stevens, we can, oh, excellent. So you need
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right. Can I? All right, let's do this. Yep, sit forward. Like this.
Yeah, there we go. Way out of the way.
And then Fred and Aaron, this is you.
Cheese.
Everybody say art.
Nice.
Sally.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Jen's in Washington, D.C. Hey, my dad. That was great.
Nice pictures.
Yeah, very nice. My dad.
Yeah.
Next, we have an out-of-state field trip. Mr. Jokela.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. So the first field trip is to Drumlin Farms in New Hampshire. That'll happen on July 12th and 13th. We'll have 75 students attending each day. And then the second field trip is to Ansem, A Taste of Haiti, which is a restaurant where students are studying French 3 class, including Haiti. And those are the two out-of-state field trips requiring the school committee to vote on tonight as action items.
What's the second date?
The second date is on June 9th, this Friday of June 9th. Okay. Yep. And the last item under the superintendent's report before we get to the budget is Leominster Credit Union is reopening a branch at Fitchburg High School. We had a branch at Fitchburg High School operated by, I believe it was Webster First Credit Union, and that credit union had been vacant for, well, at least a couple of years. Correct, Mr. Ochen?
This would be the second year.
Yeah. So I'll just, any other comments with
So
Leominster
there
Credit
was an
Union?
open invitation for any bank branch to submit a request for proposals. Leominster Credit Union was the bank that did, and they presented an amazing proposal. Their goal is to open a full-service bank branch at Fitchburg High. It'll be their third that's located in the school. They've had two operating for approximately up to 30 years at both Wachusett Regional High School and Clinton High. What they will offer in addition to that is coursework and paid internships to students who complete courses in Banking 1, Banking 2. The courses have great modules on financial literacy, on developing budgets, on how to develop positive credit, about learning how to apply for loans, a variety of things. The Banking 2 class will be more about what it's like working in a bank and the procedures around that. And then if students continue on, they would have the opportunity to be interns at the school site or even at one of the other Leominster Credit Union sites. So they're really excited. I know that Barbara Mahoney is one of the liaisons that we've worked with mostly. The city has fully approved it. Again, we did do it a fully open process. Any bank could have pursued this, but we feel pretty strongly that Leominster Credit Union will have a really strong impact on the culture of the school, and it'd be good to have a bank branch open again. And they are set to open in September.
Mr. Roach, you might explain that it's actually set up as a bank. When the school was built,
Yep.
I was chairman of the board of the Fitchburg Municipal Employees Credit Union, and we set that up for Fitchburg employees and students. And there's actually a setup with a teller and a bank right at the school. Rosemary?
And an ATM.
And
as
an
well.
ATM.
Yeah.
You piqued my interest when you said they're actually going to participate in teaching the students how to.
Yes. They have been doing that. Leominster Credit Union has offered their financial literacy course to students at Fitchburg High for several years now. This will expand the offerings to include, how to work in a bank. That's
Nice.
the Banking 2 class. So, yeah, they've really, they've been a strong addition to the curriculum for the past few years.
Beautiful. That's nice.
Yeah. So just, I think, on their end, the city has fully approved this, the mayor's office, the solicitor, but they need just an approval from the school committee on Leominster Credit Union's end, too. Banks do have to apply to the Division of Banks for a full charter, essentially. They have obtained that, but, in the process of obtaining all the checks, and we've followed all the steps. One is an official approval from the local school committee, so that's part of what this is as well.
We have a substantial number of students at Fitchburg High School who do work. They will be able to join the Leominster Credit Union. They will be able to have direct deposit, be able to withdraw their funds right at school, have their paycheck, direct deposit.
Will it only apply to students, or can teachers?
Or teachers also.
Teachers for sure.
Anybody?
Fascinating.
Yeah, really, anyone that has a Leominster Credit Union account will be able to. Now, the school is not necessarily open to the public during the hours of the day, but certainly it'll be a service to students and teachers and faculty members. And after hours, if there's events going on, there could be some time for that.
It actually a benefit for staff at the high school. They can make an appointment with a prep period, whatever they can, or after school, you can go in time for a mortgage or loan, whatever. It's be a full-service bank right at the high school.
Yeah.
And staff and students will be able to take advantage of it.
For sure.
Any further questions?
No, this is great. Great news.
Yeah,
Great work.
We're happy about it for sure. Thank you.
Budget items, second final reading of the FY24 budget. Mr. Roach.
I'll
We have- yeah.
open it up
Yep.
here on the Zoom.
Mr. Roach is going to get the presentation going. So tonight is the second and final reading of the FY24 budget. So what we have tonight is really a highlight of the budget book that you received both in hard copy and digitally regarding not only the district spending, how we are part of the city's budget, then also the individual school budgets. So tonight's presentation is really just a high-level consolidation of that. So just starting off,
I'm going to go back.
that's okay, yeah. So really just our theory of action that we've talked about repeatedly over the last few years in regards to our strategic plan. For Fitchburg Public Schools to be successful, it's real partnership between staff, families, and community partners working together to remove barriers to personal growth and achievement. And if we're able to do that, then all our students will be ready to learn and access high-quality core instruction and social-emotional supports. Just looking ahead to what are the major impacts of the next year's budget. This is the third year of the Student Opportunity Act. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a future slide. We're adding 51 staff members we added 51 last year. We have another 23 this year. Actually, that's repetitive. 51 this year, 23 last year. And this is, again, all aligned with the Student Opportunity Act. We've had to submit goals to the Department of Ed. The thrust and intent of the Student Opportunity Act is to eliminate gaps and improve student outcomes for students in gateway communities. Fitchburg is one of 20 communities across the state that are benefiting from the Student Opportunity Act. Just at a high level, the total school budget, the net school spending amount of about $96 million represents just under 61% of the city's budget. A big portion of that $96 million is Chapter 70 funds that are specifically targeted to public education in Fitchburg. So again, looking ahead, that right now we have about 20 open positions. We have additional staffing requirements for next year. We're looking to keep the capital expenditures at $500,000, and that amount is being supplemented with funding from ESSER, which is the federal stimulus amount post-COVID. There were actually 3 blocks of ESSER where we have remaining funds in the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, and the deadline to obligate those funds or encumber in school finance terms is next September 30th of 2024. One thing that we've been trying to do for years is include the instructional supplies in the what we call the general fund budget versus the school choice budget, and what was also funded by ESSERs 1 and 2. Okay, so as you look at your budget book that you received last week, again, topping out at about 142 pages, starting with my letter to the community that gives a high-level summary. The whole budget is based on our strategic plan, our mission and core values, the commitments. Again, giving some background to the readers about the city profile, the district profile, and then we get into what this year's budget entails. Grants are not included as part of the budget that the school committee is approving tonight. Grants, largely federal entitlement grants, are provided in the summertime, the exact dollar amounts, Title I, Title II, Title IIA, Title III funding. Then, again, we get into really the details by departments and schools from page 53 through 130. We devote a good portion of the budget to capital. With the ESSER funding, we have several projects in process across the district. We have an owner's project manager helping us try to best allocate the funding that we have available under those buckets to items that will enhance the physical environment across the district. And then lastly, we just have the line item budget here. We're not going through all 142
No.
pages either.
We can see what we already cleared the room.
We already cleared the room, yeah.
We say budget and they run.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
So again, every year the budget has a cover page that really just summarizes the intent, the history of the budget. Again, we're in year 3 of the Student Opportunity Act. There are 3 additional years remaining after FY24. We're hopeful that the Commonwealth can live up to its obligation in spirit and in funding for those future years to help narrow the achievement caps, improve outcomes, and also provide opportunities for our students. Yeah, and this slide, I think we've presented it the most recent meeting. Just a little bit of a background on the city of Fitchburg for those who are maybe watching on Zoom and who aren't familiar with Fitchburg. But again, our budget is part of the $159 million budget that the city council will be approving, I think, maybe tomorrow night. Again, the direct net school spending portion of that budget is about 61% of that $159 million. I'll turn the mic over to Mr. Thompson here for the SOA update.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Superintendent Jokola. So we've been talking about the SOA, the Student Opportunity Act, with you for several years now. And I just wanted to review the 3 areas of focus that Fitchburg's Student Opportunity Act really focuses on, where the money is going for our students. And one of the things I want to specify, this is for our students. It's for our students and to make sure they get the results and outcomes and opportunities that they deserve. So the first one is supporting educators to implement high-quality aligned curriculum. So we're making sure that our teachers have the tools, the most evidence-based tools to do their jobs, whether it's a certain curriculum or if it's books for our students or technology. So we're making sure that our teachers have the resources and materials they need to do the job, and that they're evidence-based and they're updated. The second one is the inclusion co-teaching for students with disabilities and English language learners. We're finishing up our second year of our co-teaching initiative. Our teachers have had training in the co-teaching initiative, in addition to be given feedback on the co-teaching initiative. One of the things here that you'll be able to see in the budget book is that we've added several special education and ESL teachers over the last several years with the Student Opportunity Act funds to support our special education students in addition to our ESL students. And the last piece is expanding capacity to address the social-emotional learning, the SEL, and mental health needs of our students and families. That initiative is very important to our staff in addition to our families in Fitchburg. This initiative has allowed us to look at different social-emotional learning opportunities and services for our students, in addition to hiring several clinical interventionists over the last several years. I think we've added how many in the last couple of years, Bob? Is it over 14, I think, right?
Say at least a dozen.
At least a dozen to support our students in their needs, especially after COVID. And that's not just been done at the high school, it's been done at all levels, K to 12 in Fitchburg Public Schools. And lastly, the feedback that we've received from our families and our students has really guided us into making sure that these 3 are evidence-based practices and we're supporting students' learning. So we've got a lot of feedback from our community around safety topics, engage in programming, financial literacy, real-world options, communication strategies to really build awareness of our programs and services. And then, like I said, increasing staffing and attracting strong candidates. And again, extracurricular opportunities, making sure we have those opportunities that our students need to be successful. So, thank you.
So this slide we have updated a little bit from the last one. The budget is fully balanced in terms of our net school spending amount after the indirect costs for transportation insurance, retirement, those types of things come out of the $96 million. The total salary projection is $58,669,432. What that is a combination of both 2% increase across the board for the various units, that's teachers, it's paraprofessionals, clerical, et cetera. In addition to those columns and steps, when people are here for more time, they might increase their salary by becoming more experienced from step 4 to step 5, for example, would be a differential potentially of 5 or 6%, depending upon the contract itself that they're working from, whether that's teachers, paras, or others, as I said. And then open positions. So open positions, I know, is a topic we have discussed, but it's certainly a challenge in every district right now is finding teachers or paraprofessionals or others who are dedicated and committed to the type of work that we're doing. So those positions are budgeted, but they aren't necessarily expended. But then when you have to create your budget again, you do have to factor them in because they are positions. So, for example, 20 teaching positions might be $1.4 million. That has not necessarily been spent, but certainly is budgeted as we know we need these positions. So as the slide that Mr. Thompson mentioned as one of the areas that the parents and the students and the teachers in their surveys about Student Opportunity Act had said, it's attracting and retaining your staff, whether they're teachers, paras, clerical, custodians, administrators, whatever it is, trying to get the best, but also maintain and keep them here doing the work that we know we need to be done, that needs to be done. Expense projections include things like transportation costs for sure, but instructional supplies. We're excited to bring instructional supplies into the general budget, the city budget. It has typically been from the ESSER funds recently or school choice funds, but we want to make sure that it's in the general funds, and Student Opportunity Act has allowed us to do that. We will see an increase in substitute teacher expenses. Again, sometimes that's a combination of the open positions or just absentees, but that's something that we are adding to in the upcoming year, as well as just the regular rollover in costs that would happen. So you can see some of those increases that I think are on the next slide without knowing it exactly in terms of the positions that we are moving forward for next year, 51.4, as Superintendent Jokola said, and that would get us to that $79 million. And I believe, yeah, that's this one.
Okay, so getting into the nitty-gritty or some of the details here, this slide really summarizes the new positions across the district. We shared this with you all last time, but just in summary, Fitchburg High School, we're looking at 3.4 positions, literacy reading specialist, a choral person to help with our fine arts, our arts, as we were talking about earlier, how important it is, and one English second language teacher. At Goodrich Academy, we're looking at adding an English second language teacher and a dean of students. At Longsjo Middle School, we're looking at adding 6 positions, a literacy reading intervention person, a math intervention person, one English as second language person, one clinical intervention person, another assistant principal, as Longsjo right now is one of the 2 schools that are working with the statewide system of support. We want to make sure that that school has enough resources to be successful and stop working with the statewide system of support team. And then one paraprofessional for security para at Longsjo. Over at Memorial, our other middle school, we're looking at adding 2 math interventionists, one English second language instructor, and one clinical interventionist. Moving on to the elementary school cohort of schools, math interventionist, one second grade teacher, an additional second grade teacher, an additional 5th grade teacher, an additional English second language teacher, and one clinical interventionist. Over at McKay, we're looking at adding 3 math interventionists, 2 English as second language teacher, 1 special education teacher, and 1 guidance counselor. McKay is our largest elementary school
it is.
in the city now. Rheingold rounds out the pure elementary schools, grades 1 through 5. Again, similar to the two others, looking at adding 3 math interventionists, 1 literacy reading interventionist, 1 English second language teacher, and 1 clinical interventionist. So again, just before wrapping up with the Early Learning Center and some district-wide positions, there's a consistency amongst the elementary and middle, really adding additional teaching resources in terms of literacy, math, English second language teachers, and also clinical support to help us recover from some of the learning loss associated with the last few years and get our students back on track, and also help narrow the gaps as called for under the Student Opportunity Act. Getting back to the South Street Early Learning Center, we're looking at adding an administrator of early childhood. This is a Unit B position, which would be, I'll say, similar in terms of being like an assistant principal to the principal, but really having a focus on the pre-K group of students. An additional special education position, 2 literacy reading interventionists, 2 additional staff members for the Pathways program, which is one of our special education programs, and 1 crossing guard. South Street is a busy school. Lastly, at the administrative or central office level, we're looking at adding an administrator of social emotional learning, 2 RBTs to help with the emotional assessment of our students, BCBA, an additional STEM person, STEM coach for K through 8, clerical, 1 for school building maintenance and 1 for enrollment, and 2 IT pairs. We're expanding our network and constantly upgrading it. We have Chromebooks and laptops throughout the district. There's a lot of technology that we've been able to successfully implement and distribute over the last several years, even before COVID. An HR specialist, right now we have really 1 person, 1 director handling the needs of a district for 5,500 students. Given the amount of hiring that we've made over the last couple of years, the summer programming, just the turnover, the normal turnover, we need additional resources and expertise there. And lastly, an athletic trainer to assist our athletic director. So all told, we're looking at 38, almost 38 and a half teachers support, 4 administrators, 6 paraprofessionals, 2 clerical, and 1 other, for a total of about $3.7 million. Okay, and this slide is really just another way to kind of categorize the staffing that we're talking about adding. Again, 30 teachers, 30.4 teachers, 20 of them going to the elementary school, 6 to the middle school, and about 4.5 to the high school. Again, the clinical social emotional learning support, we want to make sure our students are ready to learn when they come to school and meet their needs. Again, as I think many school districts across the country, we're no exception. There's a lot of mental health needs that existed pre-COVID, and we want to make sure that we have the appropriate staff to address student needs, where we're at today and going forward. So we're looking at an additional 4 clinical interventionists, 1 guidance counselor, 1 BCBA, 1 RBT, and 1 dean of students. Lastly, just from the coaching support level, we're just adding 1 person there that's a Unit A, a teaching position. And then for administrators, again, just another way of looking at the new positions here, administrator of social emotional learning, administrator of the early childhood, which would be at the South Street Early Learning Center, an assistant principal at Longsjo to help the Longsjo team continue their path out of working with the statewide system of support, and a human resources specialist to help meet all the HR hiring needs and paperwork requirements that we have. Lastly, again, just the math and literacy reading interventionists. We're looking at 15 teacher requests across all grade levels, 8 additional English second language teaching positions across grade levels and 4 additional special education people across our grade levels. Okay, so this is where I'll turn the microphone back to Mr. Roach. And here's just...
Well, I just had a comment to
Okay,
make.
go ahead. Yep.
You have very good eyesight. I'm amazed.
Thank you.
Way over there.
I've seen the presentation once or twice, so maybe it's recall versus eyesight.
Yeah, I think
Yes. The second evidence-based initiative where we are spending the SOA monies, you mentioned that you're planning to hire 2 math interventionists at Memorial, but 1 at Longsdale. I mean, I've been doing practicum and different observation at both schools, and I remember when I got to Memorial, there were 4 adults in the classroom with 22, 23 students, which is awesome. But when I went to Longsdale, it was only the content area teacher and myself. So my question is, did we get to hire more interventionists at at Longsdale?
I can answer that.
Because I'm very concerned about improving the working condition for the teachers.
Yep,
I think teaching
that's a
is
great
like
question.
the profession, and teachers are just overlooked so much, and I just want to make sure that we are not overlooking.
Yep, so
teachers.
that's a great question, Dr. Knight. Thank you for that. So they already had interventionists there. So what we're doing is we're evening it out at both schools. So right now, with the additional interventionists for these schools, both Memorial and Longsdale will have 3 literacy interventionists and 3 math interventionists. So they'll have the equal amount at both schools.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just looking out for our students, deserve the best.
Yeah, I think in the majority of the budget book really is focused on the schools. One of the things that we thought about in developing it this year was trying to make sure that the way that our budget tells the story of how we're investing in the schools, and really that's what it's about. So the vast majority of the budget book is centered on the school pages. So this is just one example. Crocker is not chosen for any particular reason other than it's just an example of one of the 8 sites. So the way it's set up is the schools presented some of their highlights from the school year in addition to the specific areas that they focus on, whether it's a school-wide instructional focus statement or their overall mission values and the way they connect that to the district values. They typically put in inserted some examples of things that they had been working on over the course of the year. For example, the implementation of the Eureka 2 math curriculum, and they focus a great deal on what's referred to as a positivity project, which is kind of a unifying strategy around the culture of the school and how they treat each other there. And so there's some nice photos of different activities that happen at Crocker over the course of the year, and each school has this. And there's just a continuation, including, of course, at the top, the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Crocker Elementary School. There's then a demographics slide for each school that provides the information about the number of students in each grade, the student-to-teacher ratio, the demographics of the students that are part of the school. And you can see that in addition to what the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education refer to as selected populations, which would be how many students are in your ESL program, how many are low income, and a few other factors there. So that's in every school page as well. The next page for each school site would include the existing staffing, along with what is proposed for new staffing to add to the existing staffing to help them achieve the goal and achieve the mission of the district in the city of Fitchburg. There's then a slide at each site about some initiatives with respect to improvements to the facilities or other things that might be happening with capital improvements. The big one really, as we know, at at Crocker, of course, is the new site, which is about a month and a half into construction, a lot of site construction happening there, although the modulars were removed last week. In addition to, they will have a new phone system. We will add the phone system there, and we did fix the roof about 2 weeks ago. So the roof on the south side of the building. What's that?
It was finished 2 weeks ago?
It was finished just about 2 weeks ago, yeah. Yeah, because they did a site visit on it the other day, and we are calling them back to double check on a few things, but it was leaking really badly on the south building. That's the lowest building if you're facing Crocker and looking at it far right. So we're trying not to pour a lot of investment into that particular building, but in some cases you need to do that.
It's one of the cheapest roof repairs we've had in quite some time.
Yeah, it might be.
Roofs are usually much higher than that. Anyways.
The lifespan is short.
It's the is what it is.
Right. At first I was like, why are we fixing this? But now that I think about it, it's pretty inexpensive.
It was pretty unbearable.
Yeah, I understand.
For 2 years, they are going to be in classes, and and that's a large part of their building, honestly, that second floor of those south side. And then each site has their line item rollover budget as well, which shows you line by line by line, and you'll see that instructional supplies were added in. You can take a look at the different things. One thing for considerations is the FY24 includes the rollover. It includes those open positions that had maybe not been found during the year, but are then added into the FY24 budget. We did take all of our positions out of the elementary or the emergency school relief, the ESSER funds, so they're now in general funds. So that's reflected in some of the increases that you would see there as well. And ultimately, every site has the line items at the end of it. And at the very end of the budget book is anything that would not be a school site. So the central office, the school building maintenance team, special ed, some of the other big departments like that. And then I'll kick it back over to Superintendent Jokola.
So again, just another way of looking at what we presented earlier. Again, the new positions totaling about $3.6 million. Again, the average that we used for a teacher was about 76.5. Again, moving staffing out of grants, the ESSER funding, into the city funding, that's $750,000. So that's, again, we want to make sure that these positions are sustainable going forward. And next year, we begin contract negotiations with all units for contracts beginning July 1 of 2024. The rollover, current contractual obligations, it's all about $2.1 million for all union, non-union positions. Again, looking at moving some of the 190-day clerical to 260-day. This is where my eyesight is not as good as it used to be. Maybe it's a color schema here, Mr. Roach, if I'm off.
Gotta go red and gray.
Yeah, red and gray. I love it. I love it. It's just maybe my eyes just can't acclimate to that. And the open positions tracking will be, for next year, focus for next year. The instructional supplies, again, bringing that into the, as we call it, the city budget or the net school spending foundation budget. It has a few different names, depending on who you speak to. A little less than $500,000. Again, trying to put that in the regular budget, make sure that's sustainable. Transportation, that's an indirect cost. That's a city chargeback, so that's an expense that is not part of the net school spending or foundation budget, but one that the city has historically paid for, and that it'll increase by about $600,000 for next year. We're waiting to see what the impact of the special education transportation contract van pool will be, but we think we have sufficient funds allocated for any potential increase there. The operational services division increased to special education out-of-district tuitions. These schools were allowed to have a 14% increase by the state, operation services division.
but as part of the budget that was passed by the state, there'll be about 12% reimbursement of that 14% cost increase. So really, the net should be about a 2% increase, but we do have more students whose needs may be better met outside our schools than within our schools. Lastly, spoke about just this capital budget item of $500,000. That's in the Net School Spending Foundation budget. Really, the lion's share of capital improvements, upgrades are coming through the ESSER funding. And I think that is the last slide here. And I would refer you to the 143 pages of the budget book. We always try to have a little bit different layout to try to make it a little bit easier for anybody to read and go through. A lot of numbers, but again, I think it really tells the story of what we're trying to do strategically based on our values, our commitments, the Student Opportunity Act. Again, it's not just academics. It's mental health. It's providing our students experiences. We have students this week going to the Woosocks. They're going to go see Cirque du Soleil. A couple months ago, they went to Hadestown. We're providing core experiences above and beyond, the reading, writing, and arithmetic that we have to do to prepare our students. But there's more to life. And as we just heard earlier, arts are a big component of having a fulfilling life. So that concludes the presentation. And I don't know if there are any additional questions.
I just did a general question, not specific to this, but I recall that for so many years we were trying to get the attention of Boston to give us more money because our students required more money. It was going to the wealthier. And has that leveled out some? Has that lessened that?
Well, that's part of the Student Opportunity Act. Between this year, which is ending, this fiscal year ends in, about 4 weeks, right? And next year, our funding is increasing over $14 million. So
we're happy.
We are happy.
We're happy because one of the things that we weren't able to do for many years is have enough staff to meet our students' needs.
Right.
So we had a very lean, almost non-existent infrastructure. Again, schools did not have the staffing that they needed to meet the needs. And again, between really going back 2 years, this current year, and next year now, we're getting to the point where we have the positions to meet the need. Now the challenge is going to be in this environment with shortage of teachers nationally in central Massachusetts, is getting those teachers. In addition, also paraprofessionals, clerical, custodians. I mean, it's everybody. So, yeah.
Bob, do you remember offhand, we discussed it the other day, was the per pupil expenditure? We went from somewhere around.
Oh, yeah. It's gone from, I think when I started in 2010, it was under $10,000, and now I think it's at $17,000. So again, there is inflation, but there were many years where, again, just saying, you could look at 2 or 3%, but I think if you looked at really just over the last couple years, that funding really with the SOA has really taken that hockey stick. I don't know where the camera is, but the hockey stick up and to the right. So that's really had an effect, the last 2 years and next year. So that's
the per pupil expenditure really almost doubled.
And I think even despite what's happened the last few years nationally, without those additional resources, we would not have been able to have 3 schools move out of the bottom 10%. It's that simple. Without resources, we couldn't have people and put in professional development across the district, which is continual. We're in a different world. Public education has changed considerably over the last 5 years, and probably over the next 5 years will continue to change. I happened to attend a Chamber of Commerce event Friday where the president of Mount Wachusett Community College spoke, and he said, if you're addressing problems like you did 5 years ago, you're out of business. And clearly, given our student demographics, it really is an imperative to make sure all our students in Fitchburg get that the best education possible. And now we have at least the resources, and hopefully we'll be able to find the people to help us meet that goal.
Hear, hear. Yeah, I don't have many comments. Been sick the last 5 days, so I wish I had more time to really dig into the granular details of this. But, when we had access to it at the first reading, I'll just echo what I said then, which is I really think this budget, there's a lot of parallels. I really think this reflects the needs of the district, and it's the needs that we've been talking about for the last 5 years. And each year's strategic plan, we identified personnel and staffing as one of the key issues. And we have not had much room to do anything about it. So now we've had the funding, I really think, this was the place for investment, Crocker, like the big investments like that really matters. And I think going forward as a school board, our participation in this budget for the next year needs to be, metrics of success. And I think one of the biggest ones is retention. If the biggest focus of this budget is investing in personnel and getting us the staff that we need to give the students to meet their demands, I really think a metric that we need to have is retention for the staff that we do hire, integrating our hiring process to be as inclusive and diverse as possible, bringing the most talented folks, and again, enhancing the pipelines that we've already set up from paraprofessionals to teachers and so on to keep the staff that we have growing and to keep them here, happy and paid well. So I think this is a great budget, and I think it reflects the needs of the district right now. And just a thank you to the city and to the mayor's office for contributing their piece of this pie. Every year it gets bigger, but I think the level of increase from their share from the last few years has also gone up, just the level of increase. So that was noted. I just wanted to show some gratitude for that.
I think, what we spend on training staff, retention is very important.
Yeah, it's got to be a focus.
Dr. Knight?
Another question, about where this SOA monies has been going. The last meeting, we spoke about hiring the principal, and, there was meetings at the school where faculty were able to meet the principals and so forth. I noticed the papers, not the papers, but School Spring had a position for a principal posted again. And then I was like, oh, great, we're still looking for a principal, but then the deadline was the date that this was posted. I don't know if someone made a mistake.
It was a mistake. It was someone hit the wrong button that day.
So did we, how is the search coming along?
How's the...
The search for the principal at the high school. Is there any update?
No, we hired a principal, Dr. John Braga.
Oh, you already
is
hired
the person,
a
yeah.
Okay.
He'll be starting, July 1, and actually he will be in the district on June 26 when we have our end-of-year leadership meeting.
What's his name?
John Braga, B-R-A-G-A.
B-R-A-G-N?
A.
B-R-A-G-A.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, no further questions? Are we here?
Okay.
Yeah,
Just getting back to a couple donations we had. We had one donation for the flowers and plants in front of the buildings from a local building business, a little over $200. Then we had the Worcester Mission Area Society donate 385 books for second and third graders. Those are the two donations that are listed as action items. There are no policy items on the agenda, and with that,
Okay.
I guess, Mr. Stevens,
Thank you,
you're
Mr.
at
Jokola.
action items stage.
At this time, I'd like to have a motion to suspend the rules to add an agenda item.
Seconded.
All in
Oh,
favor?
did you make the motion, or did you asking for the motion? You made the motion?
Yes.
Seconded.
All in favor?
What are you adding?
On Mr. Jokola's?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The action item would be to waive the 120-day requirement in the superintendent's contract to notify the school committee of his intentions to leave his position as superintendent of schools. I have a motion to accept.
I make the motion to accept.
Seconded?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are you getting the people, are they still in line? Are the roll- I mean,
Is Jim
No,
Jim
they
Walsh
both
still
were
there,
off.
or is anybody there?
Yes.
I don't see anyone else here.
So,
Just the four of us.
but you do have a quorum.
We do
Action.
have a
We do have a quorum.
You don't see him, do you, Jeremy?
Our action items.
on one of them, I would like to.
I'll go through them one at a time.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
Okay, yeah. Bye. Action item 23-268, approve the superintendent's recommendation to allow the first and second grade students to attend a day trip to Drummond Farm in New Hampshire on July 12th and 13th, 2023.
Move to accept.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
23-269, approve the superintendent's recommendation to allow the 10th and 11th grades Fitchburg High School students to attend a day trip to Ansem, a Taste of Haiti restaurant in Milford, New Hampshire on June 9th, 2023.
So moved to
Seconded.
accept.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve the donation of 385 diverse books for second and third graders from Worcester Mission Area Society.
This is what I would like to.
Question? All right,
I'd like to delay that so I could examine that a little bit.
yeah.
Because you what? Because
I
you
would
want
like to know what the books are. I'd like
to examine the books?
Yeah,
Okay. Why would that be?
educational purposes.
That's vague. You want to vet the books?
Excuse me, dear. I just want to know, please don't have interpersonal conversation with me. Have general conversation. Yeah.
This is the general.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to accept the books?
And I've asked that it be delayed till our next meeting. So
Make a
Then
motion
we
that we
can-
accept the books as it is.
Okay. And then we can still have discussion. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'm not going to advocate for vetting books or
Okay.
librarians and students can vet books.
Any discussion on the books? Mrs. Reynolds would like to examine the books. There is no second.
Tonight, do you have any
No
thoughts?
second? No second? Motion does not carry. Twenty-two, 23-271, approve the donate of 385 diverse books for second and third graders from Worcester Mission Society.
I think that was in a.
It's a typo. It's a typo,
Oh,
yeah.
it's the same
typo.
one?
It's the same as
Oh,
the
okay, yeah.
duplicate, yeah.
Yeah.
But did
Approve the don-
did the committee vote on it?
We
It
did not,
Didn't carry.
it did not,
I think it's that
it
diverse
didn't get
word.
voted. It's tabled,
Okay,
basically,
just-
tabled.
Yep, just wanted to be clear.
Yeah. 23-272, approve the donation of flowers and plants for the front of the building from local businesses and student family.
So moved to accept.
All in
Second.
favor? Aye.
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 23-273, approve the superintendent's recommendation to allow the Leominster Credit Union to open a branch within Fitchburg High School.
Move to accept that.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approve the 23-274, approve the superintendent's recommendation to approve the FY24 school department direct spending budget of $79,864,000 as part of the net school spending budget of $96,678,430.
Move to accept that.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
23-275, approve the school committee recommendation to nominate Pete Stevens to serve as school committee representative to the CAPS Collaborative for 23-24 school year.
Make a motion. I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Pete.
There is no executive session at this time. Motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Amen.